is the Relentless Pursuit of Winning podcast. My name is Rick Meekins. I'm the managing partner at Epiphany Business Consulting and your host for today. I am so delighted to have you in the studio. Thank you for being here. Don't forget to like, subscribe, hit the bell so you can be notified every time we drop a new episode. Now let's get it started. Hey folks, this is the Relentless Pursuit of Winning podcast. My name is Rick Meekins. I'm the managing partner at Epiphany Business Consulting and your host today of the Relentless Pursuit of Winning podcast. In our studio today, we have Steve Gamlin. Steve, how are you, sir?
I'm doing great, Rick. How are you today?
I'm doing fantastic, man. I'm like looking at this weather. I'm just like, well, we need our green. So let's go with this rain and keep it moving, right?
Yeah. Oh, exactly. We've had a pretty significant amount of rain this season here in New Hampshire. So yeah, everything is nice and green right now.
Beautiful, man. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Well, you are the vision board guy. So why don't you give our audience a little bit of background, who you are, what you do, and why you do it?
Yeah. When I was 11 years old, I wanted to be a radio DJ, a stand-up comedian, an author of my own books, and a teacher of people, but not in a classroom. Okay. And over the course of the past few decades, I enjoyed 10 years on the radio. I was working on my first book when I completely destroyed my life 22 years ago. Went through a divorce, quit my radio career. And on a hot August afternoon in 2003, I hit a bucket of golf balls in a thunderstorm under power lines and dared the lightning to hit me. And the day after that, my life coach thought that story was so funny the way I told it. He asked, "Have you ever thought of being a motivational speaker or a stand-up comedian? I think you'd be great at both."
I can connect.
7 years of stand-up, and I've been speaking almost 20 years now. And I love to help people through laughter and learning and, of course, visualization to see their best lives and then figure out a way to get there.
The hitting, I guess this is like the stopping point, hitting golf balls in a thunderstorm, lightning storm. You know, I'm thinking Forrest Gump, you know, with Lieutenant Dan in the crow's nest.
Yep. And that's exactly how I talk about it. That was my Lieutenant Dan moment. And sometimes people go, you shouldn't dare God like that. I go, I wasn't daring God. Me and God are good. I said, I was just mad at myself. And I just thought, if the lightning wants to hit me, go ahead.
At that passive aggressive.
Oh yeah. Yeah. My self-talk at the time wasn't too good.
I got you. I've never really been, I've never done a vision board. I hear people talking about it. I honestly, don't really know what it is. Can you break that down for me?
Sure. And you're actually among the majority of people. We did a survey a number of years ago and just asked people about vision boards, if they've ever tried one or their thoughts on it. About 63% of people said they'd never even heard of it. So that was a really good starting point for me to remember to help people to understand. So the phrase I coined for that is, I said, look, a vision board is essentially a wall-mounted GPS for the rest of your life and potentially the best of your life. Okay. Meaning if you take the goals that you're setting for yourself on a regular basis, whether it's even resolutions or goals or whatever it is, even if they're not fully dialed in, I ask people right up front, what would that look like, feel like, sound like, smell like, taste like? What's a full-on experiential view of not only what you would get, but who you would need to become in the process? Yeah. And when I start to do it that way, I think it takes a lot of the overwhelm out of it because I love to watch people's eyes and faces light up when they say, I've always wanted to do this. Yeah. And then I'll ask, well, okay, what would it be like if you had it? And as they flesh out the story, I say, great. Here are a couple of ideas to make that a vision version of it. Yeah. And surround yourself with the right resources, immerse yourself in the mindset, and surround yourself with the right people to help make it happen. And that's basically an understanding of what I do with people.
Huh. Interesting. And I'm guessing, so does that tie in at all, like to like people's like beliefs, like mission, vision, values?
Oh, it most certainly can. Yeah. One of the tools I work with is called the Life Wheel, which many people have seen. It's a pretty common tool in personal development, and it includes 8 areas of life. And one of them is your core values. It's your physical health, your emotional well-being, your closest relationships, those core values, your faith and spirituality, your connection to the world in real ways, and your work and your money. So it all ties in together. And so many people when they first meet me, they go, "Oh, I have a vision board: Lamborghini, a yacht, a private jet, a helicopter, a mansion, a big honking gold watch, and a bank vault full of gold bars and piles of cash." And I go, "Okay, that's a letter to Santa Claus right there. It's all material stuff. Nothing wrong
Right.
with any of it. But who are you in this? What are
Right.
your values? What's your mission? How are you going to go about getting that?
Yeah.
Is it all going to be in alignment? Because if it's not, oh, you're going to have a rocky road trying to get somewhere, because you're going to have all these things fighting inside your head, inside your heart
Yeah.
on the way." So I try to help people get as aligned as possible with their mission, with their vision, with their core values
Yeah.
and their
Yeah.
goals and the steps that they take.
Yeah, yeah. I remember Zig Ziglar was interviewing someone or talking to a sales guy, training, and it was like, he started on that path. It's like, what do you want? And it's like his next question was why? You know what I mean? And then
Yes.
with that why was another why and another why. Getting to that root cause, is that part of your process?
That's a very big part of my process. Yeah, actually, in one of my trainings, we have a whole module dedicated to why.
Okay.
And to me, the why is the gas in your tank. It's the spark that's going to keep things lit. It's that
Yeah.
one little light left in the nighttime sky when you get discouraged or things get dark around you.
Yeah.
And the more deeply connected you can be to your why, it's basically going to keep a pebble from becoming one of those big concrete Jersey barriers that's going to block your way.
Yeah.
And the more you can dial in and discover it. And somebody recently said to me, they said, "Oh yeah, I believe your why should make you cry." I'm like, well, that sounds cute. Looks great on a bumper sticker or stitched on a pillow, but I don't think it has to be that emotionally devastating,
Yeah.
that you just need to have a connection why. I mean, when my
Yeah.
sister and I were kids, we're about 10, 11 years old, my sister got a brochure from school one day about how smoking could kill you. And our dad was a 2-pack a day Marlboro man at the time in the
Mm.
late 70s. And that night when he went to kiss her goodnight, she was crying. And he said, "What's the matter?" And she goes, "Well, I got this at school and I want you to walk me down the aisle someday at my wedding and I don't want you to die." Our
Wow.
dad quit cold turkey the next day and never smoked
Wow.
another cigarette, because after trying to quit about half a dozen times, he had an emotionally connected why.
Wow. Wow.
So that's something I strongly encourage with people, is to, when I say, "Why do you want it?" And they say, "Well, because I don't have it." I go, "Well, okay. Why do you want it? What's that going to allow you to feel, to be, to experience? How's it going to make you a better person, a better version of yourself?" And that's where we start to navigate to tap into that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, it sounds good. I think there have been a number of times in my life where I said, I want to do, X, Y, Z, these, 3, 4, 5 things. I admittedly, I don't know. I don't think I wrote everything down. So, I'll take that, as, certainly a hit on, the disconnect. But, it seemed like, let's say I was in my 20s. It's just like, it seemed like I had everything laid out. I was like, okay, I'm going to have a consulting firm. I'm going to do this, that, this, that, this, that. And, real life hit me. You know what I mean? And so with real life hitting me, I felt like, and I'm going to say felt like,
Mm-hmm.
my vision wasn't going to materialize. What do you do? You've done the work. You've discovered the why. You're connected to your beliefs. You've got your spirituality. You've got all these components to it. What do you do when it's just getting too hard? When it looks like it's not going to materialize?
Yeah, there are a lot of people that think when they make a vision board or set goals like that, that all of a sudden it's like in Hollywood where the hero's rising up and the clouds part and the angels go, "Ah," and you've got
Yes.
this amazing thing. And well, real life isn't exactly that way all the time. But it reminds me of a conversation I had very early on. We're talking about 18 years ago, with somebody very close to me who's extremely intelligent, very
Uh-huh.
talented, super dedicated to her work. She's an accountant. She got her CPA certification because she was bored and got it on her first try with, I think, a 92.
Wow.
She wanted to throw it all away because she wanted to go work for a nonprofit helping children with disabilities.
Mm-hmm.
But she looked around and there was no way she could afford to do that. So I had a
Yeah.
conversation with her because she was really bummed out. And I said, "Okay, are there any nonprofits in your area?" And she lives in a pretty big American city. I said, "That have events where you could go and volunteer even one Saturday morning a month for an hour or two." and you could get involved. And she goes, well, I'll look. And a couple of weeks later, she sent me an email and she says, I'm going bowling with the nonprofit for 2 hours this Saturday morning. And when she reached out to me afterwards, she says, oh my gosh, that was the greatest 2 hours I've spent in so long.
Yeah.
And she said, you know, it's actually going to make the 45 to 65 hours a week that I work worth it to be able to get to do that. So I just call them slivers. Even if you can't do the entire consulting firm, everything you want to do, what's a way you could create a sliver that you could still enjoy the rewards of it and plug in no matter what else you have to do with the rest of your hours?
Yeah. You had posted about that on your Instagram. You were talking about like the incremental wins, you know, just adding to, you know, moving towards, you know, whatever that piece of that vision is. And I love that, you know. I think one of the things that keeps going through my mind is, you know, how spiritual, you know, is this thing? It's like I see sometimes in my life where things have come full circle, where it was just like, you know, I was, you know, 15, 16, was like, hey, I want to be a business consultant. And then, you know, I end up in the Army and end up being a chef for a number of years. And then I was doing something else. And all of a sudden I'm back here and I'm just like, wow, this is so cool. You know, this is where I wanted to be. You know, and it's like, okay, you know what? I want to teach at some point. And it's like, you know, 5 years ago, just like, oh, there's no way it's going to happen, you know, blah, blah, blah. And then, you know, I see opportunities starting to present themselves. It's like, hey, Rick, you know, we'd, you know, love for you to consider being an adjunct professor. And then, you know, doing this content creation gives me a different platform. Is that typical? Is this how spiritual or how, I don't know, universal or however we want to phrase that? How is this process, you know, and I'm saying from the perspective of you guiding people through it versus, you know, I don't know, versus any other approach. We'll say.
Yeah. You've actually hit on two of the biggest words that I use. It's whatever you believe in, you choose to believe in, your faith, your spirituality, wherever you see as a higher power. And some people just say the universe. It's all out there. We're surrounded by energy. And a lot of times, and there may be people right now listening to this thinking, oh my gosh, that's too woo-woo. And I get that a lot, which is why my style has been described as blue collar woo. You know, people like Dr. Joe Dispenza are out there talking about all the science that's happening behind the scenes. And everything you just described is absolutely perfect, because the person we become over time, the more experienced, the more dedicated, the more in depth we get with all the skills we're learning from all these different directions that we're kind of pinballing around to, are setting us up so that when the opportunities do present themselves and our antenna is up and at least aware, we see the opportunities and think, oh my gosh, you know what, Rick, maybe 10 years ago, you wouldn't have been ready for being an adjunct professor, but because of all the experiences you've had, now you are, and you've got the charisma, the confidence, and the background, and the depth of knowledge, and the awareness, and in the presence to see the opportunity and actually believe you deserve it. And remember that when you were 16 years old, oh my gosh, I planted this seed all those years ago.
Yeah.
I mean, I've seen it over and over and over again in my own life over the past 20 years since blowing it all up and putting it back together and learning visualization the hard way. Yeah. All of these things that I said I wanted, and I wrote down. I put pen to paper. I don't use electronics or text myself, because when you're handwriting, you're actually using both sides of your brain, which is really good. And helps you get it out and really connect with your own natural voice. But all those seeds you've planted all these years, they're there. They're not gone. They might just be dormant for a while until the right opportunity shows up. And I'm about to celebrate 17 years head over heels in love with the most perfect woman in the world for me, a relationship that I built with my vision boards, my very first ones, for about 3 years before it happened.
Wow.
So it's out there. We just need to pay attention, keep our eyes forward, not staring at our shoes or, you know, at our phone all the time, wishing for stuff.
Yeah, definitely. Congratulations, by the way. That's awesome. You know, it's interesting. So, you know, while we were talking,
I still tell her to this day, if you ever break up with me, you're going to destroy my career.
Okay. So what I was thinking while you were describing that was just like, okay, so a lot of, I guess some of the conversations I've heard, you know, over the past 10 years or so have been around like laws of attraction, but it sounds almost as though, and speak to this however, but it sounds almost as though it's not really a law of attraction, but more along the lines of purpose, what almost like what we were designed to do. And that law of attraction is really just that antenna that is saying, hey, you know what, I'm aware of that, and that thing is already like on its path towards us, so to speak. Is that too woo, blue woo?
No, that's actually right on. And that's where so many people miss the mark, because maybe they saw the DVD version of The Secret, which is my first exploration into the law of attraction in the early 2000s, where they cast a genie in a magic lamp. And all that genie said throughout the entire movie was, "Your wish is my command." Now, unfortunately for me, that falls short of the mark. I believe we need to meet the universal law of attraction, whatever, halfway. Meaning, we can become more aware of the opportunity, but we have to actually get up and walk toward it. We have to take consistent, focused, intentional action to get there. And I liken it to every time Powerball hits $1 billion, which seems like it's happening every few months now. People sit on the couches and go, "I'm manifesting a lottery ticket. I'm manifesting a lottery ticket. I'm manifesting a lottery ticket. I'm going to be a billionaire. I'm going to be a billionaire." And then I'll ask, "Did you buy a ticket?" "No, I'll never win." I'm like, well, maybe it's time your butt cheeks and your couch cushion get a divorce and you actually get out there and start taking steps toward what you want, at least increasing the odds of achieving success by taking even the most basic action of buying a ticket.
Yeah, let's talk about that. Let's talk a little bit more about intentionality around a vision board. I mean, it's one thing to create it, but something else to take those steps on a regular basis towards moving towards those goals, that vision that you have. What do you recommend, or is there like a program, or is there, how do you instill that discipline or that focus?
Yeah, the way I teach this, I do have a program. It's called Vision Board Mastery. There are 10 steps. It's an audio program. You don't gather pictures until module 7 out of 10. Everything else is inner work first to figure out what you really want. And then in module 8, you put the board together. And so many people stop there. They go, "Oh, I made a vision board once. It didn't work." It's because you treated it like a Saturday morning infomercial chicken roaster. Set it and forget it. It doesn't work that way. What I encourage people to do is you make a board, great. Keep it where you can see it every day. Take a picture of it, make it the wallpaper on all of your electronic devices. Take a picture, print it out, fold it up. If you're in your car a lot, fold it up and put it in the visor of your car. And every day, this is just the most basic suggestion. Look at the board and pick out just one of your goals. And of course, there are goals to represent all 8 areas of your life. That's just the way that I teach this because they're all interconnected. Look at one of your desired outcomes today and think, what is one step I can take towards this one goal today? Just one step.
Nice.
And if you do that consistently, all of a sudden you find out you're moving, your growth. And I compare it to riding up the first hill of an old wooden roller coaster. You can't just snap your fingers and get to the top. You get in at parking lot level, starting line, ground zero for all of us. You look up to the top of that first hill. That's any one of your goals. And every day you have to go click, click, click. You can't skip any. You can't start halfway up. You have to do all the steps because it's not just what you get, it's who you become along the way. And you're going to acclimate, just like you becoming an adjunct professor. You may not have been ready in your 20s, but all of those other life experiences made you the person who was attractive enough and had the confidence and the experience and the knowledge and the wisdom and the style to be able to do that. You've been on that roller coaster longer than you probably even understand to be able to achieve that goal. So it's a daily tap into what you want, who you want to become, and then intentionally taking an action that day or having a conversation or reading a book or listening to a podcast or a video or connecting with a coach or a mentor or just observing somebody who's already done it and patterning your behavior after theirs.
Yeah. I love that. You threw me back with the wooden roller coasters, like favorite pastime, the wooden roller coaster. The steel is cool, but those clackety clack. I love that. One of the things I was thinking about, I had a conversation with a coach a number of years ago, and he had me, put pen to paper, and just thinking about, what I wanted in the next 10 years. And it was a great exercise, like you're saying, it's like, creativity and all that good stuff. And I kind of went about it, I was thinking about my whys and that sort of thing in this process. Though I'm curious about, I guess, one of the things I always, talk to my kids about is helping them to understand that they're responsible for their own happiness. And that doesn't, and so my question is along the lines of how much influence should other people have, or how much effort do you put into, I don't know, pleasing other people or meeting other people's needs in creation of this vision board? Is it all about you and what you want to accomplish, or is it, and I'm not saying it's like, hey, don't think about your spouse or whatever, because, you want to build that relationship, that vision, that future together, perhaps. But how does that work?
And you're talking to a recovering people pleaser, yes man, and occasional doormat here.
You feel me?
As you're talking to me. The two most important words I learned over the past 20 years: honor yourself. Meaning, it doesn't mean that you throw everybody else in the junk pile. You become very aware of the importance of that person in your mirror every day.
Yeah.
And I start off my days with incredible positivity. I'm more awake, alert, and positive at 5:06 a.m. than many people are by their second cup of coffee.
Okay.
On purpose, with purpose. I make sure that I honor myself with my self-talk, with the way I greet myself in the mirror every morning, which is a big smile and a high five. Thank you, Mel Robbins. And I also make sure to surround myself as best I can with the energy of the people and the quality of the people and the core values of the people that are going to help me on my journey, and I can help them on theirs as well. So it's kind of the mutual admiration society. I'm very cautious on social media to not get into relationships or arguments or debates that are going to take me off my game.
Yeah.
And I've become very aware of that, especially over the past decade, to be really careful about where my energy goes, because we can be taken down a spiral very, very quickly and off our game. And when we get off our game, we tend to make bad decisions. Yes. And we may say, I've got to get away from this. We take a step in the wrong direction, and all of a sudden we are in a worse place than we were. Yeah. So honoring yourself and the energy that you want to be around also puts up the antenna for the type of behavior and attitude that you're willing to be around and not willing to be around. Yeah. I used to just be everybody's best friend. I mean, there were people that I would call on a regular basis. And then I finally figured out, you know what? I think they got sold really bad phones because I don't think their phones dial. They never called back. They never checked in on me. It was very one-way relationships. And I cut, in one afternoon, in less than 15 minutes, I cut 65% of the names out of my phone contact list.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah. Greatest gift I ever gave to myself. And that's why I tell people all the time, I said, you want to know the greatest weapon in the world against negative people? They go, yeah. I go, caller ID. Honor yourself. When that phone rings, don't look at it. Hold it up to a mirror. And if you see yourself smile, pick it up. You see yourself frown and go, ugh, don't answer it. And then delete the voicemail, delete the text, and cut them right out of your phone. Family or not, because sometimes people say, I'm the only one they'll talk to. I go, no, you're the only one who's still answering the phone. Are you kidding me? Honor yourself. It sounds harsh to some people, but I tell you what, it's been the salvation of my life.
Yeah. You're not kidding. I know that there have been people in my life that it just sucked my energy out, and it's like I wanted to be there for them, but it's like, bro, you gotta move forward. You can't be stuck here, and you're not gonna pull me down. On your journey to the bottom. So, that's a tough one though. That's a tough one. Absolutely. So other end of the spectrum, what about legacy? Mm-hmm. There's the building that vision for myself, what I want to accomplish in the next, X number of years. How much does legacy play into that whole, that whole picture of your vision board? If it should.
Yeah. It really all depends on what you consider, how you define legacy for your life. For me, it's not about leaving a bunch of money. I've never wanted my name on the wing of a hospital or anything. My legacy is, if anyone says, it was a lot more fun when that Steve guy was here, I'm great with that. If people just said, you know what, I always felt really good when he reached out to me, or when I saw him and got a big hug or a high five or a handshake or a kind word, or in some ways I'm already living it, because sometimes people will reach out to me in a DM on social media and say, hey, Steve, I went to the grocery store today and I saw an abandoned shopping cart, and I started to walk past it and said, wait a second, if Steve was here, he'd play shopping cart rodeo and go rescue it. So I did that, and it made me think of you. And now here's this message. And that brings me so much joy, that a ripple of kindness that maybe I committed once or shared as an idea, that people are taking it up and actually doing it. So to me, the legacy's already there. Yeah. And I just want people to feel better in some way because I was here. Yeah. That's enough for me.
I love that. I think I would say the same. One of the things, I think I still have on my vision, one of the things I have on my vision board, or, I'm going to use your language, is, creating that 1 million jobs, and I think one of the things that I wonder about is, what happens when this vision board is built on ego? It's like, I want to, whatever that thing is, how does that win? I mean, I know you talked earlier, before about, getting Lamborghini, et cetera, et cetera. What happens?
What I've noticed, it's funny, over the past 8 or 10 years, I've noticed a lot of the people that come to me are between the ages of 40 and 60. Mm-hmm. Who say, oh, Steve, I had all these goals. And then something like the pandemic happened, and all of a sudden they were off that hamster wheel a little bit in a different situation. They were at home having to contemplate things. And what I'm starting to hear is, oh my gosh, this is all there is. Like I've been chasing all these things for so many years, and all of a sudden my way of getting there, I had to kind of sit in a little detour for a little bit. And I looked around, I thought about it, and go, I'm not happy. Yeah. All these things I thought were going to make me happy and thought were status symbols or whatever. I mean, I don't know, it's not for me to say what people's motives are, but you and I both know for some people, it's all about status and power and ego and greed, and God love you. There's nothing wrong with that. But I encourage people to look around and ask yourself, is that what you really want? Yeah. Will that make you happy in some way? Is that fulfilling to you? Or is it just because maybe you come from lack or people putting you down, and it's your way of saying, I'll show them that I'm really successful and I'm a person of value. Yeah. Yeah. I never know when I see a board what somebody's motive is behind it until I start to have a conversation with them, and I see maybe what's missing on the board: emotional well-being, physical health, closest relationships. And I got a buddy in Ohio who owns at least one, if not two, Subway franchises. Mm-hmm. His mentor was a guy who had a number of them. This guy was a mega millionaire. Didn't take care of his health, died relatively young. Mm-hmm. And the guy's wife called my buddy, and she said, I'm wondering if you can help me out. My husband passed away. I can't find 6 people to carry his casket and be pallbearers, because he was such just a negative, miserable human being who only cared about racking up money. Wow. No relationship with his own family. Both his kids were addicts. They were in and out of jail. He had all this wealth as his goals, but he forgot to become a happy and contented human being along the way. And it's kind of sad. Yeah. I see that story over and over again. People that, become remarkably successful, or people that, just really die from that chase. They just become very shallow, perhaps even unhappy people. I've heard, multiple times about people that are very wealthy, spend more energy, worrying about keeping their money and their status and that sort of thing than most people. It's a whole other job, it's just like, wow. Yeah. And I'm sure there's a lot of people that would say, hey, it's a job I'd love to have, but yeah. Oh, and there's nothing wrong with money. And sometimes people go, oh, Steve's a hippie, hippie dude right. hanging out. It's not that at all. I have no problem at all with money, but I really, honestly, from the bottom of my heart, I hope that people are creating the best versions of themselves as well. Yeah. Because we see over and over the same people doing the same things, chasing money, and they're on their 4th marriage, And I remember asking a friend of mine one time, I just basically it fell out. I go, dude, how many times you want to give away half your stuff? And he goes, I'll just make more. I go, I know, but every single time, I mean, your heart gets broken and you're miserable and all that. I mean, isn't it important to find real love versus just the next supermodel on your arm? I mean, it's not for me to judge, but I'm watching these people do the same thing over and over. And I feel bad actually for a lot of people that are like that. Now, I do know some mega millionaires who are among the happiest, coolest, most well-adjusted people in the world.
Sure.
And I just love them to death.
Sure. It's prioritizing that. I mean, it's not letting that becoming all consuming. You talked a few times about relationships and even your own relationship. How important is that as part of your vision board? It's whether as a single person, or somebody that's in a relationship already.
Well, I was single for a number of years after my divorce, and I said, you know what? I only want to fall in love one more time. And for anybody already in a relationship, things get tired, things get a little stale, things get whatever. I encourage people to start remembering why you fell in love with this person in the first place and what version of you fell in love with that person, because sometimes we get off our own paths and we don't feel as though we're ourselves anymore. We're just part of a team and we're not this loving, caring, growing individual anymore.
Yeah.
So I just ask people, look, what would be the best version of you in this relationship? And what were the greatest moments of this relationship so far?
Yeah.
And how can you recreate those? And I've got a good buddy of mine. He actually sent me a message the other day. He's still doing this. It's almost 3 years. I talked to 3 gentlemen in the course of 1 week. And they all said, well, things are a little stale. Things are this. I want to be closer. And they wanted to do all these big things, like a big trip. And one of them actually said, I'm going to take my wife to Dubai for 10 days. And essentially, in as many words, said, hopefully that'll keep her quiet for a year and stop complaining.
They're going to be there.
Which was my reaction, what you just did. I laughed and I go, are you serious? And he says, well, kind of. And I said, okay. Does your wife drink coffee? He goes, yeah. I said, what's her favorite flavor? He goes, I don't know, but she has those little pods everywhere. I said, okay, you have a Keurig. Great. Tomorrow morning, put her favorite mug under the Keurig. Make sure the reservoir is full of water. Pick one of the pods, put it in the top, and leave a note saying, hey, honey, your coffee's all set to go. Just push the button. Have a great day.
Yeah.
Now, 2 of the 3 gentlemen I'm no longer in tight contact with, but one of them just sent me a message the other day. He goes, bro, I'm still doing this. And a couple of days a week, she sends me a text in the afternoon and says, you know what I love the most every day? That you make my coffee. And they have an incredible relationship. So it's the little things that are important to you to bring them in and to stay consistent. I know so many people who have a completely non-negotiable date night once a week with their partner.
Yeah.
And they go out together, and I suggest that they take a picture every time. At the end of the year, put all the pictures in a frame and say, that's my relationship. So start to describe it in the actions and all of the words that explain the best version of you in the best version of your relationship, and start making those part of your vision, whether or not you're already in one, for the best version, the best vision of your relationship. And if you're not in one, oh my gosh, talk about having a bunch of Legos in front of you to build the ultimate relationship. That's how I did it. And 10 days after I actually wrote in my journal, I am ready to fall in love, she showed up in an email from 1,300 miles away after 21 years of zero conversation, and I almost deleted the email as spam.
Wow.
The next day I opened it and realized, and we're about to celebrate our 17th anniversary.
Amazing. Congratulations. Amazing.
Thank you.
I knew a woman a number of years ago, and she did that. She sat down and she wrote out what she wanted the relationship to be like. And of course, we're talking about putting, feet to goals. So she went out and she dated 50 different guys, and from the 50 different guys, she boiled it down to, I guess, the top 10, 3. And this had to be 20, 25 years ago. And she's with the guy. Didn't look, wasn't what she envisioned, but it was what worked, and that connection that they have seems to be incredible. And she seems to be really happy. So Yeah,
Yeah.
that works. That works.
Oh, I
So
love that.
you developed your own program.
Mhm.
Talk to me. How did that? I know that you had some difficult times and had your moment. So what was it that really took you on this journey to really build something that you've been doing for, I think you said, 20 years now?
Yeah. Yeah. When my life coach suggested that I check out the DVD version of The Secret, and I watched it, I think it was 9 Sunday nights in a row. And I would sit
Hmm.
in my room before I went to bed every Sunday night for little over 2 months. And I would take notes and I watched it. And out of the 98 minutes, there was this 3-minute segment by some guy I'd never heard of before named John Assaraf, who talked about his vision boards. And he told a little story about how one of his sons came into his office and he had a box of stuff they hadn't unpacked yet in their new home. And he pulled out his vision board and his jaw hit the floor. He realized the home they had just bought and moved into was actually in a picture of a home that was on his vision board that he had found in a magazine or online or something.
Wow.
And I was so fascinated by that. And I never bought anybody else's program because I always want to do things on my own.
Yeah.
I'm a visionary, not an integrator. So I'm off on my own little journey with notepads and journals and all kinds of pens. What I did was try and fail, try and fail, try and fail, try and kind of succeed. Okay, let's put our foot on that little broken brick in a foundation and let's go to the next level, the next level. Started to bring in all the different areas of my life. So essentially, when people say, what qualifies you to do this? I say, oh, I had a life that I blew into a million pieces and I put it back together better than ever before. And I took a lot of notes. That's it. Do I have certifications in anything? Nope. Am I a psychologist or a therapist? No. Did I buy that $7 NLP complete PDF on Facebook that I saw in an ad the other day? No. And when some people get real snotty about it going, oh, so you just put your life back together and now you teach other people too? I go, yeah. What qualifies you to do that? And here in my recording studio, I have a little old chalkboard. And one day I got so tired of the snotty questions, I wrote on it, this guy lived it. And I drew an arrow, put my head in front of the arrow, took a selfie. And now when anybody gets arrogant about it, I send them that picture. I'm so thankful that I took notes for that first decade of the new millennium, the highs, the lows, everything in between, what worked. And once I started putting my life back together and celebrating wins, other people started to reach out and say, can you teach me how to do that?
Yeah.
That's where my program came from, straight out of my journals and my own experiences.
That's awesome. That's awesome. I love that. I love that. I mean, I won't go there. Yeah, I think I've actually got on our website, how experiences has been a great teacher. I mean, between, our experiences, with our companies and that sort of thing, just serving so many companies, it's just like, yeah, I pretty much am an expert. I've been doing this for 20 years, I know my stuff.
Yep.
I get it. I totally get it. I totally get it. We're just about out of time. This is gone quick. Give me a nugget, that we can share with our audience that, people are going to really want to really bite into.
Think of what you wanted to do when you were a kid, or things you did as a kid that got you excited, that you just made you happy and brought you joy.
Yeah.
And so many people, as we grow older, as we add those birthday cakes to the candles, we get away from that childlike wonder and that childlike innocence. And I honestly believe I'm more of a kid now at age 56 than I was at age 36. I really am. I'm so interested and excited about the world every day and who I am in it. And the lesson of it all, and this is something that I share with everyone, wherever you are, take a look around. Even if you're looking at yourself in the mirror first thing in the morning, look around and ask yourself this question: how can I leave this situation a little better than I found it?
Yeah.
It could be a kind word. It could be investing in a little knowledge for yourself. It could be tapping back into who you wanted to be and what you wanted to do when you were a kid.
Yeah.
But ask yourself in those situations and surround yourself with the people who are going to lift you upward, not pull you downward. And don't ever be one of the people who pulls yourself downward. Please pick yourself up.
I love that. I love that. Beautiful, beautiful, Beautiful. You have on your website, I think you have a Visualize in 5 video program. Can you talk about that a little bit?
You sure can. Yeah. The basics of visualization, like we said earlier, so many people are unaware of what visualization and vision boards are even all about. Mm-hmm. So I created a video, again, from my own experiences. Somebody says, give me 5 things I can understand. So I put them together and actually made a little narrated video with some stunning visuals to go along with it. It's only 8 minutes long. Okay. On purpose, so it can fit between the snooze buttons for people who like to stay in bed a few extra times in the morning. I said, even if you're not going to get off your butt, you can learn. Here's my video.
I love it. I love it. And what are they going to get out of it?
They can get that basic understanding and get excited because I use some humor in there as well and talking about it. And there's even a downloadable action guide that comes with it, with the Visualize in 5 video, that they can take even the most basic notes and start doing a couple of clicks up that roller coaster, just to go into their day with a better understanding of the most basic parts of visualization.
Yeah. You've mentioned a few times, just that, starting your day, on the right foot and, with the positive energy and that sort of thing, just something that you do. That's just so important. That's so important. I've got my morning routine and it's like my poor wife tried to interrupt it a week ago. I'm just like, sorry.
I'm in my zone.
I will be right with you right after these messages.
Yep.
Awesome. How can people get in touch with you? How can they reach out to you if they want to have, another conversation with you, learn more about what you do, learn more about vision boards?
They can find me nice and easy at stevegamlin.com, and that's GAMLIN, stevegamlin.com. Everything is there. It's got its own page, and happy to have conversations with people. I absolutely love kicking around good energy with people.
Awesome. Steve, thank you so much for everything that you've shared, for your energy. I'm grateful for it. I've learned a lot. I'm a curious person.
Thank you so much. It's been an honor to be here, and it feels like I'm sitting on a front porch with an old friend, just having an incredible conversation, and a bunch of people got to hang on the front lawn and just dig in. This has been a blast. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you.